Stage 5 of 7. The tour finishing lunchtime on Sunday. Will it be Frida Karlsson who tops the table? Nadine Feindrich has had a really good tour, and 13th at the moment. She finished 18th last year. I think there's every chance she can improve on that. I think maybe top 10 is still possible, because we're expecting her to do pretty well today. So first heat of 5, and we will eventually have 12 athletes for the semi-finals. Powerful start from Fiemme-Calle.
Yeah, this is a really strong heat. I think it's the strongest heat of the day for me in the women. So between Fiemme-Calle, Karlsson, Brennan and Feindrich, that's an awful lot of skiers there who will be pushing the pace and looking to get through into the next round. Feindrich, this is an important day for her. As much as the overall Tour de Ski, she'll be thinking, can I go 4 in a row? She's won the last 3 sprints, so she's got that sprint overall with an eye on as well. So I think that's going to be big for her. For Fiemme-Calle, for Brennan, it's about making up a bit of standings in the overall, and for Karlsson, it's keeping that lead that she's got. So a lot of people with a lot of different goals today.
Yeah, absolutely. Fiemme-Calle, obviously, heading towards possibly another podium in the Tour de Ski. Feindrich, what is she, 14 points adrift of Tilde Nisveng in the sprint standings this year, and she's won the last 3, so if she wins today, that will be 4 in a row. Is she as good at the Classic? Not her record would say not, but she's so full of confidence. Karlsson also going hard. She knows how important it is at least to get through to the semi-finals, and she's set out with purpose.
I think so, and I think with knowing her strengths and her weaknesses, she's not such a natural sprinter as some of the people like Feindrich who are in this. So I think her tactic's going to be, I'm just going to push it from the start. She wants to make sure she gets through to the semi-finals with no issues at all.
Through the halfway stage at just under 1.5 minutes. We're expecting a winning time of possibly under the 3 minutes, probably 1:58, 1:59 if they have a very fast one. And Karlsson has not hung about here. She's got Fiemme-Calle right on her heels. Rosie Brennan struggling a little bit at the moment for the USA, sitting in 4th place, just behind Feindrich.
Yeah, lots of gaps opening up already. We'll see how they go. As I say, we've got quite a long downhill then, and then I think it will come back together a little bit, and then the key is this second short uphill. It's not a big one, but the pack will come back together a little bit, and the way that they are in order as they come in this last downhill into the stadium is really crucial. So you can see Feindrich getting back on the tails of Karlsson there. She knows it's really important not to be off the back at this stage.
Yeah, that right-hand corner that leads to that little uphill is so important. Look what good work Fiemme-Calle has done. She's broken clear. Now Karlsson needs to watch out, because Brennan is closing in behind, and she's in the slipstream of the Swede up over the little step, and they'll gain ground there, and that gives Brennan a little bit of a push. Feindrich back in 4th place at the moment. Fiemme-Calle is away and clear, and Fiemme-Calle sitting 4th in the Tour. What is she, 1:41 behind, pretty much where she finished after the whole Tour last year, where she finished in 4th. Desperate for a podium finish this year, and this is the best possible start for the day for her. So Fiemme-Calle takes the win. Feindrich coming through, and Karlsson maybe raced out of this one. My goodness, Brennan sneaks into 3rd. Karlsson has a lucky loser spot at the moment, but 3:058 is there to be shot at.
Yeah, I think it was probably the right thing for her. She knew that she'd have to push the pace, hope for this lucky loser spot, because she wasn't guaranteed to be in the top 2. But the risk of that is that you do a lot of work early on, and then people take advantage of it to get past you. I think it shows the experience of Feindrich in the sprints. Brennan looked like she was off the back at the halfway marker, but did really well to come back on the second uphill.
Have a look at this. Fiemme-Calle moves left. This is the bottom of the long right-hander, and by going wide, she's learnt that off Klaebo. If you stay wide, you maintain speed. Takes that into the next uphill. She gets an extra skate step, which I don't think she's going to get penalised for on this occasion. Feindrich a bit unlucky there to have Karlsson come in. I think that, the Swiss, had Feindrich not qualified, I think the Swiss may have had the protest straight in. But the gains made by Fiemme-Calle, fantastic. Expect to see similar stuff from Klaebo when he races later on.
Yeah, great skiing by her. As you say, it's about being the best skier, and the best skier is the one that has the technical skills, who can sink through the course the best, as well as being fittest and fastest.
So there are the qualifying time, or the first heat, 3:03.69, the fastest qualifying time set by Laura Gimler this morning, 3:03.41, so they're just outside that. Now, there is an opportunity to get a lucky loser through from here. Tilde Nisveng, would you have chosen 2, or would you have put yourself in the mix in 1?
Always tricky to say. I think I'd feel pretty good in 2. You still have quite a good recovery with the 3 heats after. We look at Hennig here as well, but not such competition as you've got in the first heat. So I think it's a bit of tactics there. Get yourself through with enough recovery, but slightly easier heat possibly than that first one. So between Hennig, Kilonen, still a good heat.
Are they going to get away with that? That
was a bit of a stumble from Veng off the line there.
A messy start, and it is played into the hands. Just trying to see who that is. Is that Kloinen who's got away for Finland, as Palmakoski did on the first heat? Canada's Stuart Jones at the back at the moment, wearing 28. Their bib number indicating where they finished in qualification.
And Heidi Veng as well at the back there. So, Day, I think we would have expected to see a little bit further up, but not such a strong sprinter anymore. Really come more focused on the distance results, I think. So again, if she has a good result, we could see Heidi Veng, having a good battle of the Vengs in this heat. But I think it's all about Tilde Nisveng today.
Yeah, Heidi Veng, 3rd in the Tour last year, 9th in the Tour at the moment. 3:11. What's her margin? She's some way off the mark of the leaders. I think she's out of the running for the win, but might possibly get in the top 3, but she's going to have to get through to the last 6 today to achieve that. Big 20 is Eva Urovec of Slovenia, and good strong athlete Katarina Hennig in 2nd place. That will do nicely if she can hold on to it. Number 6 is Anne Kiloinen, who hasn't finished better than 16th in any of the Tour stages so far, which is why she finds herself down in 19th place, 4.5 minutes adrift of Frida Karlsson.
Yeah, big gaps opening up in the women's overall, especially with the dominance of Karlsson in the last couple of stages. So it is looking good for Karlsson at the moment, but still opportunities in the next couple of days to change around.
Karlsson 1.5 minutes clear, and then a minute separating positions 2 through to 7. So lots of jostling for the minor places, but Karlsson hasn't started the best. She's sitting nervously on the bench down the bottom, waiting to see if anyone beats that 3:05 mark. So this is the fastest bit of the downhill, and as we saw from Palmakoski, get the line right, and it's a big assistance on the next little uphill.
Yeah, except for Stuart Jones, who's a little bit off the back there. The other 5 are still fairly tight together, so it's going to be all about positioning going around this corner. We've got Hennig, who's got the inside line here, but Veng's done really well to come round. I don't think she's going to be too worried she's behind these. She's in 3rd at the moment because, as I say, the slipstream is really important, and who can then take advantage of that as you got this last little bump before that long drag into the finish.
Yeah, I think that's a tactical error from Veng. She could have been 5 metres further back. She's very strong on the double pole, so she may be able to hang on here, but you really want the slipstream, and you can see the who's that on the far side? Is that Heidi Veng? It is Heidi Veng who hung back. She was 15 metres adrift going round the corner at the top of the hill, and she's coming down. She might well be the one who puts Frida Karlsson out of action. 3:03, 3:04. No, Karlsson is safe at the moment. Tilde Nisveng takes the win. She's through, Hennig is through, and Heidi Veng misses out by a fraction, but she so nearly got it right.
Yeah, it was great, as I think she did tactically the right thing there, Heidi Veng. She hung back, she didn't work too hard, she positioned it quite well, she just didn't quite have the oomph in the finishing straight there to get ahead of Hennig, who managed to finish 2nd. So that's a good day for Hennig. She's in 7th overall, so it's important for her as well to get through to the semi-final. She's not necessarily the strongest sprinter out there, so I think she'll feel happy with that, if that's as far as she gets today.
And of course Tilde Nisveng in 2nd place. This is the fight for the positions coming into the last downhill. The leader into the last downhill hasn't qualified yet. That's something that is likely to hold unless you can open up a gap. You sort of need to be over 10 metres clear.
I think it has to be a really big gap there to be worth being out in front. If you're just in front 1 or 2 metres, you're going to get swallowed up by everyone on that last downhill. And the key thing, I think, is you've got a bit of a downhill and a short upwards bump. So it's that upwards bump, if you're carrying more speed, you can step out of the tracks and cruise past in front.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the men's being shorter this year, they're going to have virtually no time to position themselves between the bottom of the downhill and the top of the last uphill. It's such a short gap, and I think their momentum's pretty much going to carry them up to that left-hand corner. So that will be interesting to see in 10 minutes' time or so. We're on to heat number 3. Lotte Udnesveng goes in this one. Third in the first sprint in the opening venue, Valmuster. Val di Fiemme, incidentally, the only venue that has been involved in all 16 Tour de Ski so far, and obviously part of the 17th as well. Mirvold for Norway wearing 10, Anna Duvik for Sweden is there 12, Gans of Italy 18, 21. That is Pia Fink, who's 20th in the Tour standings at the moment, and then Katarina Janatova of the Czech Republic wearing 23. Heat 3. Fastest qualifier, Lotte Udnesveng, who wears 9, and the red suit of Norway.
Yeah, I think like her sister in the previous heat, Lotte Udnesveng has got to be the favourite for this one. But there are a couple of people who aren't necessarily up in the overall, but are good sprinters today. So Duvik and Janatova, I think, ones to probably watch out on. Might be looking for a good result today as much as in the overall. But certainly I think it's going to be about Lotte Udnesveng today as well.
Yeah, her time was 3:06. She was only fractionally quicker than Matilda Mirvold of also from Norway, and then they were a good second ahead of Anna Duvik. So expect to see the 2 red suits in the front, but it's so tactical. Provided you stay with it on this uphill, which isn't too big an ask, you've got a chance.
I think so. It's a long uphill, but it's certainly not one of the toughest ones that we see on the course. So they're about a minute to the top there, as we can see them just cresting over the hill. So it's not so long that it's going to completely splinter the group apart like you might see in some other sprints on the course. That's Mirvold there taking the lead as they come into this downhill section. She's obviously decided she wants to take it on as they come to the last part of the uphill there, but I think we've seen so far it is a little bit risky to be in that front position at that point.
Mirvold setting the pace. I think Lotte Udnesveng just being patient. Italy's Katarina Gans well positioned in second at the moment, and that's Pia Fink of Germany at the back. It's not lost at this stage if she can ski tactically well over the next 200-300 metres, then she'll be back in with a chance and back up with the leaders.
Yeah, the pack's still together, so I think everyone's got a chance here, but those at the back have a lot of people to get through and a lot of traffic, so it's really challenging if you are stuck in 6th position at this point, because even though they're not off the back, there's a lot of people to get through, and the positioning is so key on this last uphill and then corner at the moment.
Yeah, and Mirvold's done all the donkey work. She's been double poling, everyone else just tucking in behind her. Round the bottom corner in 2:11.5. And now the sprint for position starts. Gans loses ground. Good little burst of speed coming in from Anna Duvik of Sweden. She gets into the mix and it's a tight scramble as to go round the corner. Gans nearly losing her shades, but she's back in this one. Lotte Udnesveng still back in 3rd place. Now, watch her because she should be able to use that speed. It's a good position to be in. Mirvold's still leading, which is impressive considering she's done so much work so far. Under the co-op barrier in 2:42. I think we're going to be pressed to get under the 3:05, but we will see. 3 going hard for it here. Lotte Udnesveng now starting to come strong. Good finish from her. Her tactics have been perfect. Duvik still in the qualifying spot. Mirvold digging deep in the middle of the 3 of them, but I think she's going to lose out. Tactically, she got it wrong. And Lotte Udnesveng goes through 3:05.0. It's a lucky loser spot for Mirvold, and that means Frida Karlsson is out.
Yeah, it was always going to be tight for her. I think she'll have been watching nervously that whole time. That makes a really big difference in the overall standings. I think she's a little bit unlucky. That heat was quite scrappy at the end there. A lot of jostling at the top of that last uphill there. We could see Janatova got caught in a little bit of traffic as they went into the last downhill. and Meervold just about squeaking through, but a couple of heats to go, so we'll have to see if that time's going to hold up.
Well, that could mean that if Tyrrell Udnesveen can win this one and get the 60 bonus seconds for the win, that could push her right up the order. She could be within 45 seconds of Frida Karlsson going into the penultimate stage. It's sort of what the script writers wanted.
Yeah, I think it would certainly make for a more exciting end of the race. I think considering Klaebo's won all 4 stages so far and is only 12 seconds ahead, we wouldn't necessarily expect to see Karlsson with such a lead, but she was so dominant in the last couple of stages that something in this sprint to tie it up again would be great for that overall excitement.
And Tyrrell Udnesveen owes Lotte Udnesveen a favour for pushing the pace right at the end of that 30. 3 down, 2 still to go here in Val di Fiemme. It's a beautiful scene. This is what it's like in March, the end of March, beginning of April, spring skiing. It is a concern across the Alps. I just saw some pictures of Chamonix, the lower slopes of Chamonix, absolutely bare this morning, but luckily they've got some lifts that go up over the 2,500 metre mark, so there's plenty of snow higher up, but lower down the temperatures in double figures.
Yeah, going higher and higher to find snow these days, so it is a challenge for some of these lower venues, like the cross-country venues in fact, which tend to be at slightly lower altitude.
Get your altitude training for 2025. Kerttu Niskanen. Now, although not renowned as a sprinter, she's not bad. And with a lot of the sprinters already retiring from the Tour, some of them not entering the Tour altogether, I think Kerttu Niskanen's got a chance of going through to the semis.
And absolutely, and I think as the Tour progresses, some of those pure sprinters, unsurprisingly, are pretty tired. It's not so often they have to do too many 20-kilometre races, so the sprinters might not be on their freshest forms, and some of those long-distance skiers who have a little bit of snap in them can do well today. So I think watch out for Niskanen. But on the pure sprinter side, we do have Dahlqvist in the race, so she only qualified 19th, which isn't as strong as we'd usually see her, so that does suggest she is feeling the fatigue building from the last 4 days of racing.
Yeah. The days of tactical qualification have pretty much gone now that they offer 15 points for winning the qualification. It's certainly made a big difference. Dahlqvist might have been playing a tactical game because of that fatigue, but we'll see. She's stuck in the middle of the pack. Very conservative racing so far, which is sensible. It was Laura Gimler, the fastest qualifier, wearing one, who set the pace out of the start gate, but has now settled down, moves over to the right. Good positioning from her, but leading the way, 26. That's Melissa Gall of France, and she's going hard.
Having a quick look to see, there is a bit of a gap there, but I'm not sure that's quite what she's expected. I think she will get swallowed up pretty shortly, but it's always brave to put it out in front when you've qualified as bib number 26.
Yeah, get to the top of the hill. They're at the high point now with minimum effort, but without losing touch, and anything within 20 metres of the leader is fine.
Yeah, still pretty open there. I think that's Niskanen who is just coming through. Again, as a not pure sprinter, I think she does look like she is upping the pace. I'm not sure it's the best place to be doing it as we go into that downhill section, but I think she probably doesn't back herself as much of the other racers might do on the finishing straight, and just that finishing straight and the pure speed that you need at the end of the course.
They need to hit the bottom of this hill in just about 2:12, 2:11.5, 2:12 to have a chance of going under the lucky loser spot of 3:05.19. They're just outside, and that last heat was quick. We've got 2 or 3 athletes off the course. Now that would be interesting to see whether the jury say anything. Julie Mira didn't really have an option. She was just there was nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's really tight racing here. That's Thea Dawson as well, just getting sort of pushed out, squeezed in as they go around that top corner. Athletes are trying to get the inside line, but they're sometimes getting pushed over there. And we've got Niskanen who's in front here. She might just about have enough to stay in front there. She obviously had opened up a good gap over the hill.
Laura Gimler coming in. She's the one closing down on the Finn.
And then Dahlqvist on the side. So again, this is where Dahlqvist's sprint strength is going to come through. She's obviously been struggling, but she knows what it takes in the finishing straight here.
Okay, Dahlqvist pushing hard on the far side. Look at the extension, the rise off the feet, and that power gives her what she needs. And that actually putting Laura Gimler, the number 1 qualifier, I think she's out of contention. We'll see a slow-mo, a photo finish between her and Niskanen. So important for Niskanen to come through if she's going to finish in the top 3 of the Tour. So important for Gimler in her bid to finish high up on the sprint standings.
Yeah, I think that really showed Dahlqvist's sprint experience coming through there. She was quite quiet for the whole way through the race. We didn't see a lot of her. She was never up at the front. She was in fact back in sort of 4th or 5th at some positions, but she knew what she had to do towards the end of the race, so she was able to position herself well enough and had enough trust in her pure speed in that long finishing section.
Yeah, Gimler was pretty much in the perfect position coming up the top of the hill. She was 10 metres back on Niskanen. She got the slipstream she wanted. She was slung through into top spot. So credit to Niskanen for staying strong over the last 100 metres. There you see, there's a little stumble from Gimler. Did that cost her? Almost certainly. She would have been much better on the outside, and that's why the others were thrown wide. We missed that initially, so I don't think there'll be any protest at all. Had they not taken evasive action, they would have caused a collision with Laura Gimler. So Gimler a little bit lucky, but credit to her for getting back in it. She needed another 6 inches on the legs and she would have qualified.
Yeah, that's a shame. I think that stumble definitely lost her speed a bit as they got to that crucial turning point at the top of the course there.
But she's only got herself to blame. Wasn't anyone else's mistake. Niskanen with the perfectly timed lunge, and Dahlqvist showing her experience and her expertise when it comes to the sprinting. She looks recovered after about 3 seconds and comfortably clear. Yeah, Gimler's gone. She is out. Not quick enough to go through. They were a second behind at the bottom of that downhill, so it is just about 2:11, 2:12 if you want a chance to get a lucky loser in there. Dahlqvist, Niskanen are through to the semis. They'll join up with Anna Duvik. So, effectively 4 slots still available in the semi-final. Are they all coming from here? I don't think so. If you look at their bib numbers, the fastest qualifier finished in 8th position. That was Baranova of the Czech Republic, but we do have Jess Diggins in this heat. She's won sprints before, and she sort of needs to win here today if she's going to get back and challenge for a top, or to improve on her 8th position in the Tour last year. There she is, 31 years of age. The classic races haven't really gone very well in the Tour so far this year. There's been a lot of blame on the skis. Let's see how she goes. Baranova, Slind, Ilar for Sweden. We've got Diggins wearing 16. Rosenberg of Sweden is 22. And Julia Kern of the USA, 24 over on the far side.
Yeah, so I think this heat's wide open. Normally I'd say Diggins and Kern would be the favourites, certainly the most experienced in terms of getting through to semi-finals, but not qualifying particularly quickly here today, and certainly in the case of Diggins, not on best form. Baranova has been to a sprint final in Stolen, so we know she is a good classic sprinter. I think we'll be feeling confident with her qualification, but yeah, as I say, I think this one's going to be wide open.
Yeah, we'll get some idea of the pace set, the bridge that they go under shortly after the Legria banner is about 1:10. You can see it up in the top of the picture now with Trentino written all over it, and everyone's still in this race, which sometimes indicates the pace isn't too high.
Yeah, and they're all quite spread out as well. It's not just all jumped in one line, which often happens if you've got one athlete who's pushing the pace at the front and everyone jumps in behind. They're spread over all of those 4 tracks, just into 3 now, but still really bunched up and very, very close together. Slind taking it out, but obviously not wanting to do too much work, despite the fact that she's out in front, so looks to be a comfortable pace for her.
I've got them a second down on heat number 3, which saw a lucky loser nipping into the race. Now, what's going on there? A little bit.
So I think we've got Baranova who's taken the outside line, which is often a little bit slower, but obviously trying to get through a bit of traffic and doesn't want to be stuck too far back as they come towards this. The outside line, I think, can actually not be a bad place. We've seen, like Parmakoski in the first heat, if you take the corner a little bit wider but preserve your speed, you can set yourself up really well for the second half of the course.
Yeah, provided no one from the inside is being thrown out to the left, which we saw in that last heat. So Baranova has got herself exactly where she wants to be. Slind in second position, and they're fairly spread out at the moment. Remember that marker of 2:11.5 down the bottom of the hill. It's come and gone. They will not be challenging, so I think it's fair to say we're only going to get two qualifiers out of this heat. Buranova's in that slot at the moment. Starting to push for Sweden is Moa Ila, I should say, on the outside, wearing 22, and both her and number 11 Slind are in a good position here.
Yeah, Buranova again doing the big move, trying to get in front and got a little bit of airtime, but again that's not going to be enough. Ilar and Slind should swallow her up as they come over this small downhill here.
Well, Slind makes the ground quite quickly, but she had to work hard on that last little bit of uphill to get over. Buranova looks over her shoulder, slightly concerned, but at the moment she's holding pace. Good work from her. Slind coming strong. Moa of Sweden starting to fade. I don't think we're going to see her going, and the Americans starting to make a move. We've got on the right-hand side Julia Kern. Jess Diggins absolutely not in it. And what's it going to be today? A ski problem? I doubt it somehow. 3:08.9. Some way off the mark. Slowest heat so far. Slind is through. Buranova is through. That may be the end of their journey, the semi-finals.
Yeah, that was great skiing from Slind. It's not a name that we see too often anymore. She does more of the long distance racing, but has been around for a very long time and got an awful lot of experience. I think that was showing through today, actually. She looked really comfortable, didn't stress about the pace, didn't worry too much about it being fast, was in a good position the whole way round. So I think that was some good skiing from her.
Top 10 in the Tour at the moment. I think she'd be happy if she finished the Tour in the top 10. Another 2 stages to go. A lot of the sprinters will withdraw after today. The sight and the height of the Alp is enough to put them off going any further. And sometimes, Posey, you think that's a good move because you can do so much damage to yourself with a 4-kilometre uphill climb, and the steepest section of that climb is 28%.
Yeah, we've already seen the numbers in the women's drop from 71, I think, down to 44. So we've had a lot of dropouts already. I think we'll see a few more today, and then just the final few sort of holding on for the last couple of stages. But it is a big 7 races in 9 days. It takes it out of you, and particularly with that last one. So you do have to consider, what are your goals for the season, and is it worth digging deep to get right through to the end?
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of athletes struggle to recover after the Tour. Fiemme-Calle, perhaps the best known from the second Tour ever held, 2008. Calle was only 20. I think it took her 18 months to recover, and she never really wanted to enter the Tour again, which was a real shame because she was sensational. The new superstar on the block, Fiemme-Calle, back then. But Carlson is leading the Tour, could be the second Swedish woman ever to win the Tour de Ski. That would be a good moment.
Yeah, it'd be a great moment. I think she'll want to finish it. I think she'll feel like that. There is sort of prestige about winning it. Some people don't like to go through the whole way, but there's certainly a lot of kudos for winning.
So the women's first round completed. So with 4 stages gone, they've got an hour 44 of racing on the clock, the women, so it's not it's not quite as taxing as some may say, but it's just the fact that it's 7 races in 9 days. Now this is the first heat of the men's. They're not hanging around, just looking out for Johannes Klaebo, usually at the front, but when he wants, he sits at the back. Tactics first couple of rounds, I think it's to get through 1 unscathed and 2 without using too much energy. So he is without a doubt, we were talking earlier, Posey, about the greatest of all time. That's always debatable because there are so many great champions over the years, but for me he is the best skier, technically the best skier we've ever seen.
I think he's good at so many different things. It's not just that he's good at sprint skiing and distance skiing and classic and skate, it's that he's he's got a good tactical brain. He can win a race from wherever he is. He can sit back or he can be at the front. He's good on the downhills, he's good on the uphills, so he's good all over the place. Just looking at this heat, he was 6 seconds faster in qualifying than anyone else, and as a result I think that he's decided he can play cat and mouse with them, so he's absolutely cruising at the back right here.
Yeah, and interesting. Andy Musgrave leading Johannes Klaebo in a sprint. That's something you won't be able to say too often. But well done to Andy. He's qualified. He's there with the blue suit with the orange flashes, ankles and cuffs, and bit disappointed with the way things went in Valmosteo. I don't think the format suited him with the pursuit race after the sprint. He just had so much traffic to work his way through. And it tempted it into the old days of starting too hard, and that cost him a lot of time, and he's been trying to make it up ever since. And then, of course, in Oberstdorf, that little stumble coming into the closing stages, having led the race with just 2 kilometres to go. But Klaebo's starting to make a move. Watch him on this next right-hand bend. He's back in third at the moment. What does he do? Delicate little step turns. I thought he might go a bit wider, but he's got a track to himself, which I think he wants to stay out of trouble, and he doesn't necessarily want to lead into the last downhill.
Yeah, he actually took that corner quite wide there. We've seen in the women some of them trying to get the inside so they can have a good start in that downhill, but he's not worried about that. He just wanted to stay out of trouble, so he stayed quite wide, but that meant he's got this track to himself. And again, I think he just knows he's in a class above in this quarter-final. As I say, he was 6 seconds quicker in qualifying than anyone else here, so all he needed to do was stay out of trouble, make sure he was in a good position. And now, to be honest, he's not even really having, that's not vintage Klaebo. He's not turning on the jets as much as we've seen in some other ones, just doing enough to get through.
Well, that was a little bit too close for comfort. He's got a photo finish with the first 3. Hegström and Svensson, if they got slightly longer extension with the leg, they might have put him out. That was just too casual. That reminds me of Ruka about 6 years ago when he was beaten by Bolshinov by thinking he had it wrapped up, and he was pipped on the line. We'll see the side shot, hopefully, of that in a minute. But I think the coaches might have a stiff word or two.
I think it's absolutely fine to not use too much energy. It's sensible to preserve a little bit, but I think there is also something to be said for just getting through without worrying about it.
Look how close this is. He is just there, so close. Oscar Svensson, I think, is the man who's missed out, and Hegström was comfortably through, I think, but still we need to wait for the result of the photo. There you have it. Oh, well, actually, from the side-on shot, it looks very, they have elongated it, of course, but it looks a little bit more comfortable in that picture, and it is definitely Svensson who has missed out. And because it was a slow heat, or seemingly so, I think we're only going to get 2 qualifiers from heat number 1.
Yeah, that's almost 10 seconds slower than he was in qualifying. So again, I think it shows he was just having a little bit of a warm-up before the semi-finals there.
Yeah, 4th place to your brother. Andy is unlikely to qualify. I can't see any of the other heats going quite that slowly. Certainly not this one with Ben Ogden leading. He doesn't know second gear. What a fantastic racer. So exciting for the USA. Not just to have Ben, but they've got a number of other athletes that are peppering the top 20. We had 3 Americans in the top 20, 4 in the top 25. The story is getting better and better.
It's been absolutely brilliant watching them. As I said, it's a young group of American men that are coming through. They're improving all the time, and I think that just gives a bit of hunger and a fearlessness to go out and race in a way that you want to, not being too scared about the competitors around you, which is what Klaebo used to do sort of 6-7 years ago when he first started. He wasn't fazed by anyone there, and I really enjoy seeing that in Ben Ogden and the other Americans as well.
Yeah, I think perhaps guilty in the past of showing the Europeans too much respect, but when you look at the record of the Norwegians in particular, and then you have the Swedes and the Russians have been dominant as well. The USA have every reason to be sort of a little bit shy in coming forward, but now they've got the confidence, they've got the backup. They use international technicians to prepare the skis, and the whole system seems to be working pretty well. It'd be nice to see one of them through to the last 6 today. So Ogden is wearing 3. We've got Michelini of Italy, Pinochet of France, Jules Vincentelli of France has withdrawn from the Tour. Slightly surprising, especially as this is a sprint and his sprinting's been great, so I suspect he's under the weather a bit. Perhaps one of those to have picked up flu, possibly COVID, because otherwise, he would have definitely been having run a classic sprint in Biddestone.
Yeah, I think it's not COVID. I think there's some reports not confirmed that it's not COVID, but just a bit of a cold enough that he didn't think it was worth being on the start line today, which is a shame because he has really improved in classic sprinting over the last couple of years. It's quite an interesting heat, I think. There's not an obvious winner for me. No one's sort of set the world alight. Obviously we've got Ogden qualified third and Mocciolini in seventh, but I think you do have to watch out. Cinder Bronson's Scar only qualified 20th, but has had a really brilliant tour so far and has done well in some of the other sprints already, so I think we have to watch out for him. Certainly one of the more experienced ones as well, which I think really helps in a course like this where there's a lot of tactics at play.
Well, it's fantastic to have so much support on the track. I always think that if God forbid I was ever organising an event, I would make sure that the track positions were filled up before the stadium, because that's what the athletes love, is having the cowbells ringing as they're climbing up these punishing hills.
Yeah, you need a bit of something, even on a course like this. Never mind the final climb, you still need a bit of something to get you up the hills. So great to have people out on the course and people enjoying the sunshine as well down in the stadium.
Harvard Mosby leading the way down the hill, not the ideal position to be in. Ben Ogden is in an excellent spot at the moment. Renauger of France back in third. We've got Italy's Mocciolini, I think that's him, in four. It is, and Mocciolini just moving out to his left to try and gain a little bit of ground on Mosby.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he did today after that brilliant performance that he had in Beitasol. I don't think that was a name anyone was particularly looking out for to be on the podium back then.
In terms of overall positions in the Tour de Ski, that was Renauger so closely going down. Keep an eye on Score, who is the second Norwegian, just starting to make his way up, tucking in behind Mosby now. Score is in fourth place in the Tour at the moment, so it's absolutely crucial that he gets himself through to the semi-finals if he's going to challenge for a top three. The lucky losers, Svensson and Musgrave, I think they're in danger of being knocked out. Here they go into the last 150 metres, and it's Ben Ogden who's gliding well, but they are gaining. Score staying exceptionally low in his bid to get up into the top two. This is an all-out finish, has to be quicker than the first heat. Ogden holds on at the median. Mocciolini coming strong to pip him on the line. So Italy and USA, the two qualifiers, and the time, I think, Renauger, we're waiting for the time before we see whether Score has got quick enough. Surely two lucky losers out of that heat.
I think certainly for the moment we'll see some lucky losers from that heat, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some faster times coming through.
Talking about fast, I've never seen a technician move as fast as that. Grab Mocciolini's skis, off to the hut, get them prepared for the semi-finals. That is the sort of technician you want working for you.
Yeah, it's an interesting move from Ben Ogden there. We talked at the start about how he likes to be fearless, but still wasn't convinced it was quite the right move there to be out in front, but he obviously wanted to stay out of trouble. There has been quite a lot of sort of jostling up that top corner there before the downhill, so he had enough clear space to stay out of trouble and also just to manage to keep clear into that final straight and get the second place.
Great recovery from Renauger, but again, as we saw from Larry Gimler, if you stumble on that corner, you lose valuable speed. Mocciolini on the inside of the turn, it's so tight, and this of course is a new course for them, or a different course from there. It's a little bit shorter than their standard sprint course, which would take them another 100 metres further up the hill, by which time they tend to have strung out a little, so there's always going to be a compression on that corner. Where do you want to be? Well, if you're not wholly confident, you want to be on the inside because it's a shorter line. If you're as good as Klaebo, you probably want to be on the outside and away from trouble, as we saw.
Yeah, most people I think are trying to get inside because that's the quickest line, but as you say, if you've got the confidence like Klaebo, it's a little bit safer to be out wide and stay out of trouble.
2:45, 50, 64. Three heats still to go, and biggest name in this heat is Kalle Halvarsson of Sweden, and he's 10th in the Tour, exactly where he finished last year. Be nice to see him work his way up the order. A lot of people wanting him to get on the podium today. He's had two successive fourth place finishes, and he's had plenty of World Cup fourths this year already. He is deserving of a podium spot. Paul Goldberg, he's had plenty, and that is why he is still number one in the World Cup rankings. Seems crazy when you consider that so many races have been won by Klaebo, and he's still adrift, having he had to sit out 3 races, to be fair. So heat 3, Halvorsen, Novak, Goldberg of Norway. We've got Graham Ritchie of Canada in there. Anton Persson of Sweden is there. And David Gratz of Italy, a young athlete, on the right-hand side of your picture.
Yeah, going to be another interesting heat tactically. I think Goldberg, again, another skier who's just so tactically experienced that, as we can see, he's kind of happy just to sit back a little bit and not push the pace at the start. Has the confidence in his abilities to get through the traffic later on. Gone out a little bit wider now just to give him a bit of clear space, but not worried about being up at the front as the start. But pace is starting to ramp up a little bit as they go up the hill. That's Michael Novak, who's out in front for Czech Republic. But again, the pace is looking relatively steady. No one looks like they're going 100% at the moment. No one wanting to sort of take it on too early.
The women, a minute 10 under the bridge, and I'm not sure heat 3 in the men's is going to be much quicker than that when they come out the other side. A minute 4, so 6 seconds taken off, but fairly pedestrian.
Yeah, Halvorsen over on the wide left at the moment. So again, skiers are just looking for a bit of clear space. They want to be, it's staying quite wide over the top of that hill because people don't want to be too far back. So although they don't want to be doing all the work at the front, if you do get stuck in a tight pack right at the back behind 5 other skiers, it's hard to get round. So although being on that wide left line might mean you've got a little bit more ground to make up, at least there's clear space in front of him. So he's obviously decided that's the best place to be. See him having a bit of a look there and then sneaking across in the front one more lane as they get into this downhill section.
So Kalle Halvorsen is going to be on the outside when they come to the bottom of this downhill. If you can hold your line, the inside is fine, but it's a fast corner. It's fairly hard packed snow. They're getting pushed out to the left. Novak leads the way round. We have 6 athletes still in this. Halvorsen in the mix, tries to work his way up wearing number 2. He's got a good spot as they come into the last downhill. Number 9, that of course is Paul Goldberg of Norway, perfectly positioned behind Novak. Expect to see that gap shrink as they approach the next little uphill. It's only about 10 metres, but so many gains made here.
Goldberg and Halvorsen perfectly positioned there. I think played that absolutely right. And Halvorsen looking good skis there, I think, just looking like he's got a little bit of glide, a little bit more glide than the others as they come into this finishing straight.
Novak, Goldberg, Halvorsen, the leading 3 at the moment. Goldberg finding himself trailing a little bit. Novak's found some extra energy for the closing stages. Now Goldberg starts to drive. This is going to be tight. Halvorsen is there. It's a brilliant lunge from Goldberg, which might just save his skin, but Novak looked relaxed enough to know that he had got a top 2. That has to be confirmed. But Kalle Halvorsen, that was impressive. Good skis, as you said, but perfect position coming down that last hill.
Good, I think good position the whole way round. As I say, he wasn't near the front at all for the first half, but he got himself the outside lane, so they didn't have any traffic. And then when he wanted and he needed to ramp up the pace, he was able to jump in front and be near the pack. 3rd place going down the hill, but close enough to use the slipstream. I think that was great skiing from him the whole way round.
And don't forget, he's only 49 seconds off the leader of the Tour de Ski, despite the fact that he's in 10th spot. Just going to check that. It seems crazy that we got 10 within 40 seconds.
It looks like it's just been confirmed that that's Michael Novak that's taken 2nd place over Goldberg there as well.
Good work. Halvorsen, 49 seconds between the top 10 athletes in the Tour de Ski. So if Halvorsen can get a win and should something happen to Klaebo in the semi-finals, we could see the lead in the Tour de Ski changing, which would be that would be a big story.
It's bad news for Goldberg though, who's sitting in 3rd place at the moment, just 14 seconds behind Klaebo. He would have really needed to go through today to keep that gap as close as possible. So that's not a good day for him if he's out at this stage.
Yeah, and we still have Pellegrino to go. Pellegrino goes in the next heat. Slightly surprised. He qualified 11th, but he could have elected for group number 1, which he often does, but not as confident in the classic style. So Goldberg is out. That's as big a story as Frida Karlsson being knocked out in the women's. So the tour is not over. And, you know, the Tour de Ski is always evolving. And I think they accepted when they set it up that they were going to have to do that. It's all about bonus points and length of races, what the format is, what follows what. And there's always criticism, but you cannot argue in the men's this year it's tighter than it's ever been.
Yeah, and especially because this is only the second sprint that we've had, so to have so many sprinters like Pellegrino that far up the rankings, despite that, they've obviously done something with these pursuit starts that's helped to kind of keep it a little bit tighter.
Yeah, you have a pursuit following a sprint. The sprinters are in the prime position and they can do so much better, as we saw from Pellegrino, who's now had 3 distance race podiums this year, having never had one in his career before. So let's just go through as we see Sweden blasting out of the gate. That's Rossio of Sweden. We've got Lucas Schanava of France. He wears 4. Schoonmaker of USA wearing 5. Pellegrino in 11. You'll see him. He's in the blue hat, sitting in about 3rd, 4th at the moment. Kruger goes for Norway. Now Pellegrino and Kruger are the 2 men who need a good finish. They need a semi-final slot at least if they're going to keep their hopes alive of winning the Tour de Ski. Rossio 24, Varela the slowest qualifier wearing 29, and a little bit of that's extraordinary, the herringbone, and you know what that means. Rossio doesn't have any wax on.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen that so far, so that's a brave move by him. We have, in the pre-race interviews, we heard some of the Swedes say you need to be fast on the downhills, you have to have good skis. So he's obviously decided, well, I'm going to risk it, and people aren't pushing the pace so far at the start of the race, of the first half, so if I fall a little bit back, I've got a lot of time to make it up. So
well, he's at the back at the moment, trying to find a way through. He's changed lane about 5 times, not because he doesn't know which lane to go in, but because that gives him one extra skate step and gives his arms just a little bit of rest. Now, he has got 400 metres to use those skis, which in theory should be quicker than everyone else's, but it's not showing quite yet. It will be the next, another 50 metres of relatively flat, and then the speed starts to build.
Yeah, he should. He's just about attached himself back to the pack there, so he should be able to cruise it. So if he doesn't want to get through, he should be able to put in no energy at all and be staying on the back. If I were him, I'd be wanting to come through a little bit more, get nearer the front of the group for this second downhill section.
Well, that's a fairly classy pilot with the drone, and here we go. He's still at the back, is Sweden's Rossio. Can he find a way through? This is where he may find himself getting detached. Good work from France as Lucas Schanava blasts his way up around that corner, and that's a very handy bit of skiing from him. 5 is Schoonmaker of the USA in a strong position, and still the Swede is struggling. I'm not sure no wax is paying off.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest lead that we've seen so far from Schanava over the hill. We've said it's been risky to be in front over there, but he looks to have gapped enough that he's given himself some clear air into the finishing straight. Just him having a little look over his shoulder there. He's still got work to do, but definitely given himself a good shot of getting through here.
2:46 is the lucky loser time, which is we are certainly interested in. Schoonmaker going hard for the USA. Schanava takes it. Schoonmaker in seconds going through. Pellegrino down in 3rd. Classic sprinting, never his forte, but 2:47. You would have expected him to go through in that heat, but I think, Posey, he's got to be tired after all those distance races. A brilliant 20k the other day. I think those fast twitch fibers need a rest.
I think so too. I think he's had an absolutely brilliant tour so far, and I think that the possibility of being on top in those distance races, which he doesn't normally get to do, is taking his toll. I thought 11th was a bit slow in qualifying for him, although he is better in skate. His classics really come on in the last few years, and we've seen him challenging for the podium in classic as well. So 11th place with the field that's here today, with some of the big sprinters missing already, did suggest to me he was a little bit tired, and he just didn't have the oomph on the second part of the course that we usually see from him.
Yeah, and he's a second outside the lucky loser spot, so Renauget is in with a 2:46.03, and Sindre Bronseth score of Norway, who got himself a brilliant 3rd place in the 20k, a 20k with 3 sprinters, 1, 2 and 3. That tells you quite a lot about that race. Fast conditions, a massive group racing together, and it was always set up for the sprinters.
Yeah, that's again in that overall rankings, that's good for score. He was sitting about 15-16 seconds back from Goldberg, so he's in 4th place at the moment. Goldberg, we know, has not gone through, so that will help to inch his way up those overall standings now.
So 1 heat to go, and then there will be just a couple of minutes. There's not a massive turnaround before we are back onto the women's sprint and their semi-finals. So France, Italy, USA, Norway, Canada, Sweden, 6 nations represented in this last heat. Francesco De Fabiani. Can he do what Pellegrino couldn't 4 minutes ago and get through to the semis? The fans certainly hoping so. William Peroma, great tour so far, lying in 6th place, and certainly a chance of improving. We've got Ketterson of USA wearing 15, Emil Iversen 16 for Norway, big figure, second from the right hand side, and then Antoine Sire of Canada wearing 17 over on the far side.
Yeah, big chance for Peroma here. Not known so much as a sprinter, but this is a wide open heat for me. I think the weakest of the heats that we've seen so far. So for that overall ranking, it's going to be important that he gets himself through to the semi-finals today. So I just wonder if we'll see some slightly different tactics. I think, as I say, he's not the strongest sprinter, but it's not got any sort of really strong sprinters in this heat, so we might see the pace just get pushed a little bit harder, just with people like Perona trying to get themselves through.
Well, we haven't seen any all-out heat so far. No heat has taken this hill as quick as that we're seeing at the moment. Interested to see what the time is under the bridge. Last heat went through in around 1:05. Certainly seems to be pushing the pace. Antoine Sire it is who's leading. Out they come, a minute on the clock, and I think they might well be going for a lucky loser slot here.
Yeah, Iversen looks like he's working really hard on that inside line there. That looks like they're pushing the pace much more than those previous heats. They've got the benefit of that information. They know that the other heats haven't gone so fast. You know, the top time has been 2:46 in the qualifying. The top time was 2:37. So we've got someone down there. That's Jules Chapaz. I didn't quite have to get that again later on. He's down. We missed what happened there.
Too busy looking at the lucky loser times to see what happens. It's always the way.
And that's a shame. He actually is the best of the pure sprinters, I think, in that heat. So this will have been probably his last stop on the tour today as well. So that's a real shame for him to be down just there.
So we're down to 5. Plus a drone heading down towards the fastest part of the course. The right hand turn at the bottom. It's Iversen on the inside wearing red, but he's got some traffic in front of him. You can see how delicately they're stepping. De Fabiani gets himself in the perfect position. He's going to be on the inside, but there's not a lot of room. He's being given absolutely nothing by Zach Ketterson of the USA, and a big fight ensues as they battle for the 2 slots. It's still pretty quick. We're looking for a time of sub 2:46 to get a lucky loser through. Iversen uses his bulk and his weight pretty well. He takes the lead going under the banner, and now just 150 metres to go. It looks flat, but it is just painfully uphill into the finish.
Yeah, this is the tightest one we've seen so far. This is really close. Double pole drag to the line there. Hard to see from this angle, but I think who's that? Is that Sear on the outside?
Yeah, Iversen and Sire is there. Ketterson just fading a little bit, looking to see where De Fabiani is. 2:46.2. They have missed it by 1/10 of a second. Only 2 qualifiers going through. Sire and Iversen have made it, and De Fabiani suffers the same fate as Pellegrino. That's bitterly disappointing for the Italian fans because both those skiers have done so well so far this season. There must have been a bid to have this as a freestyle skate race rather than the classic. So the first round's completed. We are straight on to the women's semi-final. The big news in the women's race so far is that Frida Karlsson has not made it through to the semi-finals. So the leader of the tour will undoubtedly lose some of that 1:28 advantage she had coming into today. The question is, Posey, will it be Tilde Sveng who takes full advantage and she could close the gap down to 28 seconds.
Yeah, that would be great for the overall excitement if she could close that gap down again. I think she's got to be feeling confident. She's been so consistent, not in the season, but through the whole of the tour as well. Got her sister in this heat as well. That's
Lotte and this Veng.
Yeah, they are both. Sorry, it's a bit of confusion. Hard to keep track of all the Vengs sometimes.
Yeah, both the twins are in this one. Palmakoski's there as well. There she is wearing 4. Had a very good first round. Did she put out too much energy? Tyrrell Udnisveng still looking as aggressive as ever. What a massive leap up the order she has taken this year. Been so impressive. Katharina Hennig of Germany, we heard her interviewed before. Didn't give away any secrets or any tactics as you would expect, but certainly an opportunity for her to, I think a top 3 is still possible in terms of the Tour. Nadine Feindrich, best a Swiss athlete has ever finished in the Tour de Ski, is 8th, so she's in 13th at the moment, and a top 6 spot will push her up closer to that 8th position. That was von Siebenthal back in 2015, I think. So we're on the way. First of the women's semi-finals, and just over 1,200 metres to race, 2 ups, 2 downs, and then a painful sprint into the finish. And Palmakoski doing exactly as she did in round 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Palmakoski is just going for the approach of pushing right from the start here. I think she's obviously feeling in such good form. She was really impressive in the last couple of days. Obviously, Carlsen got the best of her yesterday, but Palmakoski did a huge amount of work to catch her and then to stay with her as well. I think Feindrich is obviously the dominant in the sprint scene at the moment, but I just wonder if the fatigue from the last couple of days of racing has caught up with her. We've seen her in the last sprints lead from start to finish and have the approach of just pushing it right from the start, but she's off the back here, so that suggests to me that she's feeling tired compared to previous days.
Yeah, Feindrich a little bit sluggish. Palmakoski knows that her best chance of getting a lucky loser spot is to push very hard, and she's as good a leader as anyone else out there. Number 9 on your screen, that's Lotte Udnisveng. Tyrrell Udnisveng wearing 2. Tyrrell Udnis conserving energy at the moment, tucking in behind Katharina Hennig. It's Palmakoski who rounds the hill first at 1:18.
Yeah, it's so this heat is the semi-final, is so important for the overall. We've got 5 of the top 8 women in the overall standings in this heat, so for all of them, they want to be getting as far through as possible to be getting all these bonus points. So it's important for Palmakoski, but also for Tyrrell Udnisveng, for Lotte Udnisveng, and for Hennig and Brennan as well. So they're going to be going for time, but Palmakoski looking really impressive here.
Yeah, and if she keeps this position, she's obviously going through to the final, but what she'll have left to give, we will find out. And she was a real fighter in the 20k 2 days ago. So Palmakoski leading Lotte Udnisveng. We've got Hennig in 3rd, Tyrrell Udnisveng back in 4 at the moment, and the almost the world's best sprinter right at the back, Nadine Feindrich. She's won the last 3 World Cups, but she's sitting in 6th at the moment. Absolutely no chance of getting in the top 2 here. Palmakoski's going to lead on the inside. Here comes number 2, Tyrrell Udnisveng, who makes a good advances on that bottom corner. Hennig now in 3, Lotte Udnisveng 4. Switch of the 2 twin sisters. And for USA, number 13, that's Rosie Brennan. Oh, she's got a lot to make up.
She's got a lot of ground to make up. Tyrrell Udnisveng looking good as well. Again, she's just sat back. She's not worked too hard, but great on that last uphill there to get back on the tail of Palmakoski. Absolute did it to perfection there over that hill. Yeah, just waiting till there.
Palmakoski's in trouble because Hennig's coming up. Little stumble from Hennig, but she's gaining with 45 metres to go. It's Finland still in 2nd, but suddenly she drops down. Hennig goes through. Lotte Udnisveng goes through, and Rosie Brennan's closing in. Palmakoski gets 4, and has she done enough to get a lucky loser? 3:03.4. That Posey is a 2.5 seconds quicker than the lucky losers in the first round. So Palmakoski still has a chance, but that's exactly why you don't go 100% in the first 400 metres.
I think she obviously decided she wanted to push the pace in that heat and have it a hot heat, see if people could keep on that pace or not, but there's a risk with that. If people can stay on it, you've done all that work and you're going to be absolutely done. Tyrrell Udnisveng just cruising away there.
Exactly. Total contrast, total difference in approach to the race. Tyrrell Udnisveng, we didn't even mention her name until that last corner. She came from the back to the front with some brilliant technical skiing. Has to be said, her downhill cornering was perfect. Shot her past her sister, and Palmakoski left for dead. Is there a ski issue there? possibly, but Tilda Nisvang got better speed on the previous downhill section, so she was up and over that little mound without any trouble at all.
Yeah, Tilda Nisvang just played that to perfection. There might be a little bit of skis in there, but I think it's more about the approach to the course and the tactics. You know, if you can, she was close enough to Parmakoski that she could take advantage of her slipstream on that downhill, and then able to just step out to perfection there. So great skiing by her as well. But Hennig and Lotteveng as well, also able to overtake Parmakoski, who just too hard too early.
Yeah, so Parmakoski's got a nervous 5 minutes now. She has to see if anyone in this group, and it's not a strong group. If you look at the qualifying numbers, 7th is the highest, and that's unusual for a semi-final, but all the best athletes want to avoid semi-final number 2. The reason is obvious. 6 minutes less rest is so significant. There's Kerttu Niskanen. What can she do? She had a good race, but I think she will have watched Parmakoski and thought, okay, that's probably not the way to go. Slind, 34-year-old, and not really in the running for the top 10 positions in the Tour de Ski. Number 19, Maja Dahlqvist. She was very composed, good tactical first round heat, saw her come through in the closing stages, and her teammate alongside her, Anna Duvik. So Slind and Mirvold of Norway, Dahlqvist and Duvik of Sweden. We've got Niskanen of Finland, and then Teresa Baranova, who was the 8th fastest qualifier. Number 10, that's Matilda Mirvold, led the first round. Wonder whether she'll change her mind. Are they going to go for speed? 3:02.47, the winning time in that first semi-final, which was 2.5 seconds quicker than any of the first round heats.
Yeah, I think we might see Niskanen trying to do what Parmakoski did in the first heat and push the pace right from the start. Again, she's such a good classic skier, but she's not a pure sprinter. It's in her interest to keep the pace high, to try and break the pack up a little bit earlier on, because we do have some more pure sprinters in this one with Dahlqvist, with Duvik, Baranova, compared to the first semi-final. And again, so important for that overall for Niskanen to get through this round and into the final.
Yeah, Parmakoski's not going to thank her teammate if she does push the pace too hard. We're looking for a time of around 1:18 at the top corner. So that's just 10 seconds or so past the bridge. It's Niskanen leading at the moment. Norway with Slind and Mirvold in 2 and 3. Yeah. At the back of the group is Anna Duvik of Sweden. But you don't have to worry. Klaebo sat back there for a long time.
I think Dahlqvist as well we need to keep an eye on. Again, she's a very experienced sprinter. We didn't talk about her a huge amount in her quarterfinal. She kind of kept it quite quiet and then was able to just power through on the finishing straight to come through and take her heat in first. Yeah. So
Dahlqvist sitting in 5th in the sprint standings. This time last year she was the number 1 sprinter, hardly made a mistake prior to the Christmas break, but just always seemed to get pipped at the majors, which is a little bit unlucky in Oberstdorf, the world champs, in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, not too much competition from her own teammates in the Swedish team more than anything else at the moment. The Swedish women just so dominant in the sprinting. It has been a little bit different in the Tour de Ski because they have chosen to sit out some of their pure sprinters in favour of the overall standings. So some of the big names in women's sprinting not in the race today, which does leave it a little bit more open than we've seen in previous sprints.
Yeah, 2.5 down on the first semi-final by my reckoning. There is an opportunity to make up that sort of ground, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. Niskanen's still leading the way. Excellent positioning from her so far, but she has worked very hard on the first 600 metres up to the high point, and we saw what that did to Parmakoski, and we've seen it time and time again. Posey, you do not want to lead into the final downhill, which is coming up in 20 metres time.
Well, that was a bit of a stumble from Duvik as well on that downhill there. Looked a little bit wobbly, went quite wide. She's dropped her down to 6th, and lucky that Dahlqvist got through there because she was very close to her. So Dahlqvist has got some work to do.
Yeah, Slind and Mirvold of Norway in 3 and 4 at the moment. I'm not sure they're out of it, but great skiing from the Czech Republic's Teresa Baranova, absolutely flying down that last bit of downhill. Now into the home straight. Baranova with a good 10-metre lead. Niskanen stays low, but is going to need her double poling power to hold off the Norwegians who are coming strong. Good change of tracks from Duvik pick there who could get herself into the top two, but it's still Baranova holding on. Niskanen living by the skin of her teeth at the moment, wearing 7. Is she going to strike lucky here? Number 10 on the far side, that's Mirvold, but it's a win for, well, Mirvold just getting in. Photo with Baranova and Niskanen, Dubik missing out, Slynn fading, and Mike Dahlqvist, the most renowned sprinter in that group, off the boil.
Yeah, again, I think another sprinter feeling the effects of the last 4 races in 6 days. Obviously just not got that spark that she needed. She looked good in the last round, so I thought she might still have it, but obviously just not enough there. Great skiing from Baranova.
Just look at Baranova on the far side, Posey.
Yeah, just
first 50 metres, she lost 5, just taking it easy.
Yeah, and again, we've seen it a few times now. The skiers that we're not talking about a huge amount around the course are just being really sensible and really clever. Look at the speed and the acceleration that she had over the hill there. That was brilliant. Again, she took it wide like we saw with Klaebo and was absolutely dynamic and driving off the top there as she went into the downhill. That was great. That's the best I've seen of the women, I think, on that hill.
Yeah, and that push over the top of the hill gained her that 10-meter gap, the meter gap that we were talking about earlier on. If you can break contact, you've got a much better chance. But if you only get 5 meters clear, you're going to get swallowed up simply because the others will tuck into your slipstream. Baranova, she still had to work, has to be said. It was a very tight finish indeed. So we have the semi-finals. There's Baranova's stretch, just outdoing Niskanen, who has still... Niskanen's not made it through, so the only Finn in the final now is Krista Palmer-Koski, and that is crucial in terms of the Tour de Ski standings because she is one who could challenge for score. Can he get 2 podiums in succession, having come through? So Klaebo, Halvarsen, Mocellini, we've got Ogden of America, Hegström of Sweden wearing 19 and Sindre Bjornsad Skor wearing 20, the slowest of the qualifiers, and sitting back in 5th place at the moment. Klaebo this time decides to lead it out.
Yeah, a little bit more effort than I think we saw in his first heat, where he looked like he was just going out for his warm-up ski. It was an absolute stroll for the first half of his heat. The times that we saw in the quarterfinals were completely different than what we saw in the qualifying, so he was a full 10 seconds slower. It'd be interesting to see if the pace starts to ramp up again. The course, of course, could have slowed down a little bit, I think, over the course of the day as well as it's warmed up, but certainly absolutely nothing like the quarterfinals here. Ben Ogden absolutely going for it there.
Yeah, he is cooking this. This reminds me of Palmer-Koski in her heat, but just wrapped it up another 5 or 6 notches. Ogden making this an honest race. Klaebo had no choice but to go a little bit harder than he wanted. Halvarsen in 3, and look how Ogden has spread this field out. Mocellini in 4. He's about 25 metres back off the lead at the moment, and 1 or 2 athletes are out of this.
I think that what he's done there, as I say, I've loved watching Ben Ogden race. He's just gone with a bit of surprise as well. It's been quite tactical so far throughout this, so do you know what, I'm going to mix it up. I don't want to just be sitting back here playing cat and mouse. I'm going to go hard from the start, and again I think that's really played into his hands, the fact that hasn't happened so far yet today, and it's been able to break it apart.
So Klaebo just has a good long look over the shoulder to see what the situation is. 7 sprints he's done in the Tour de Ski. He's won 7, yet to be beaten over a Tour de Ski sprint. It's an incredible record when you think how much luck is involved in the sprinting. 1 mistake and you're out, and there's a mistake from Ben Ogden. That's going to cost him the lead. Klaebo doesn't hesitate, straight through, and he's taken Halvarsen with him, and now Ogden's going to pay the price for that blistering pace up the first climb. I hope he's done enough to qualify, because he deserves to with that effort.
Yeah, look, but again, just look at the skills of Klaebo. In the other heats, when we've seen someone go on the downhill in first, they've been swallowed up as they go over that small bump into the stadium. Klaebo's still got clear space between him and Halvarsen. Halvarsen is making up a little bit of ground, but it's not going to be enough. And even if it is, he's saying, well, the 2 of us are in front, we don't need to worry too much.
Yeah, Halvarsen just needs to wind it down. Mocellini starting to work hard for Italy. A lucky loser slot, still a possibility. 2:37.9 the winning time, and Mocellini 3, Hegström 4, Ben Ogden, who led for so long, back down in 5, 2:41. You have to show respect. He's a great racer, he's an exciting racer, but he's got a whole lot to learn.
Do you know what? I rate him for trying. I think it's exciting to mix it up, and if you think, do you know what, I've got nothing to lose, I might not make it through if I just sit back, it's always worth trying. And sometimes in the sprint events it's about you win some, you lose some as you're coming through the rankings and you're working out what works. So top marks for trying, but didn't work out today.
But Posey, you know, half the effort has to come from the body, the other half has to come from your brain. That was not a sensible tactic.
Well, sometimes you learn by making mistakes, don't you? So that's better for him in future.
Absolutely agree with that. And to be honest, it could have turned out differently. If he hadn't had that stumble at the bottom of the downhill, I think he'd have been in a much better position. He certainly wouldn't have been able to match Klaebo over the last 150 metres. But it made an exciting race of it. But effort doesn't always win your medals. You have to apply a little bit of thought as well. So Klaebo Halvarsson go through. Mucciolini Hegström have to wait to see whether that was a quick enough heat. And if it is, they should give some of their winnings to Ben Ogden, because he's the one that pushed the pace. But the American can hang his skis up and he'll get back to the track, and he'll give James Schoonmaker a bit of a cheer, because he is going in semi-final number 2. Different class of semi-final in many ways, but Lukas Šanovac really is the class act in this field. Michael Novak, quite impressed with what he did in the first round.
Yeah, I think watch out for Novak as well. He's had a couple of good sprint results so far this year. So Šanovac and Novak are definitely the strongest sprint competitors in the field. But Sear, I wouldn't have said would be one to watch out for, but he ended up winning his quarterfinal pretty handily there with that sort of slightly different tactics that played out in the last quarterfinal. So it'd be an astounding day for him if he got through to the finals. But I do love the Tour de Ski. You never quite know what's going to happen in the sprints.
Yeah, especially at this stage with so many of the sprinters. They've done more mileage this week than they do in the rest of the season, and it doesn't suit their body makeup. Emil Iversen needs, he gets a hard time from the Norwegian press, and he knows that he needs to keep producing top 5, top 6 results. He was furious in Oberstdorf because he wasn't getting any splits. He thought he was completely out of contention, whereas he was actually in the running for the top 10. But that's the problem when you've got 8 athletes who can all get in the top 10. Who do the coaches give the information to?
Yeah, and sitting down in 20th in the overall as well, which for the Norwegian team is nothing when they've got so many in the top 10. So it's tough for him, but he's got these last stages to prove it. It's just a bit of a stumble from Schoonmaker there as they try and get into their lanes as they head out on the first hill.
Steady start from Šanovac. Šanovac wearing 4. Yeah. He's not too high at the moment. Certainly not a patch on what we saw from Ben Ogden.
Yeah, clearly no American tactics today. I don't think Schoonmaker following his teammates' tactics here. The pace looks absolutely pedestrian compared to that last one.
Well, you mentioned you learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes, and I think Schoonmaker may have done that. So Šanovac, Sear, we got Schoonmaker, we got Novak of the Czech Republic, Emil Iversen, where's he? Over on the left-hand side without the hat on, and just being checked out by Sear of Canada.
Yeah, this is actually exactly what Iversen did in his quarter-final. He was on that inner line with a bit of clear snow in front of him for the last one as well. He has been overtaken now, but I think he didn't have to worry too much about the traffic, unlike the others. So sitting back at the moment, but plenty of the race still to go, and relatively close together, although that does look like Schoonmaker is taking the pace on a little bit as they get over the top of that first hill.
Yeah, that's a long flat section that leads into the fast downhill, and as we've seen already today, Posey, as you approach the downhill, your last 10 metres of either uphill or flat needs to be absolutely max to get the speed, get that extra half a kilometre an hour in the first bit of the downhill.
Yeah, it's quite deceiving here because we can see that the top 3 have got a bit of a gap over the bottom 3, but I think we should see them coming together again. That's happened a few times that a couple of people have tried to take it on and it's come back together. So unless they've got some absolutely amazing speed, I think it'll bunch up a little bit again as they come over this last bump. But Schoonmaker really trying to drive the pace here, trying to keep that gap so they've just got the 3 of them fighting it out.
So Schoonmaker of USA leading, wearing 17 is Sia of Canada in second place. Shanava there as well. The remaining three still some 20 metres back, don't seem to be closing the gap at the moment. A little cut stumble by the Canadian puts him back into third place. Schoonmaker still hanging on. A top six is for the taking, but Sia's got good skis as he tucks in behind the American, and coming strong now, that's the Frenchman, I think that's Renaud coming up on the outside. Everson's not got anything left in the tank, and Novak's finished as well. So good win for Shanava. Sia gets second in the end, a bit of a ding-dong with Schoonmaker. 2:44, the lucky loser time was 2:39, so it was way slower, but in some way, Posey, that's good news for Shanava because he's gone through without a max effort.
Yeah, good news, and Shanava is one of the athletes that were taking it on quite hard from the front, but obviously had a look at who was in his heat and decided he didn't need to push the pace too much more of a tactical heat than the first one.
Klaebo, Shanava, Halvarsson, Sia, Mochili. Semi-finals complete, and that leaves us with just two races to go, the men and the women's final. The women going first, as they always do in the sprints. I guess the day will come when they switch it round.
Well, we've got equal distances, why not equal starts? Swap around who goes first of the men and the women.
But you don't get much more of a lie-in. An extra 20 minutes,
no,
perhaps.
Sadly not.
So the women's final, remember, 60 bonus seconds available for the winner, and with Carlson getting knocked out in the first round, many wanted her knocked out prior to in the qualification because that would have tightened things up in the women's tour. But we're on for a cracker here, and we do have a lot of those athletes who are doing well in the tour up there. We've got Tilde Nisveng, certainly need to watch. Hennig, we certainly need to watch, who is wearing 3, and then Krista Palmer-Koski. Those 3 athletes all have a chance of getting on the podium on Sunday afternoon after the climb up the Alpe Charamis. And if it goes well here today, they might have a crack at beating Frida Karlsson.
Yeah, it's certainly shaken things up a little bit again here today. I think we thought that with that 1:28 lead, Karlsson was pretty much insurmountable. I think she's still going to come out of today with a lead in the overall, but she'll be disappointed not to have got further through the sprint here today. I think it will make a difference, and it will give a little bit of hope to Tilde Nisveng, to Palmer-Koski, that they're still in sight of the leader. Yeah,
one bit of good news as we watch Baranova for the Swedish is that Karlsson qualified in 5th, so she won't be that far down, having gone down in the first round. So she may be in the top 15 come the end of today. Number 10, Matilda Meervold, came through as a... was she a lucky loser? No, Lotte Nisveng and Krista Palmer-Koski were the lucky losers. Meervold actually hung on. Tilde Nisveng fired up again. Took so long. The Norwegians went 10 World Cup races without a win. Tilde Nisveng finally put that to rights with her first ever World Cup. Katarina Hennig, the Germans haven't won a stage of the Tour de Ski since Neustadt did many years ago, so opportunity for them. And then Krista Palmer-Koski. I think if Palmer-Koski wins, it would be the most popular winner out of these 6.
It would be brilliant to see, and she certainly put the work in the semi-final.
What tactics are they going to use? Apologies for the break-up in the picture. I thought it was a full start for a minute, but no, they're safely underway. The last lap of this Val di Fiemme course, and it's a steady pace being set by Matilda Meervold out the front. No one really wants to lead this. Tilde Nisveng, quick slip... change of the tracks to get a little bit closer to Katarina Hennig, who is now in the front with Palmer-Koski on her right.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that semi-final has impacted them. The first semi-final was a full 6 seconds faster than the seconds, with Tilveng, Katarina Hennig, Lotte Veng and Palmer-Koski. So they've had the extra time to recover from this compared to the second semi-final, but they went a huge amount faster. So Meervold and Baranova might be benefiting from a slightly more cruisy round 3 to the final compared to that. I think Baranova was kind of surprised though. She was quite quiet in her semi-final, but had a fantastic downhill to come through in second place. I think for me, Tilde Nisveng's looked the strongest so far. She's just played it tactically perfect at this stage.
Well, Tilde Nisveng, not only is she the overall World Cup leader, she is also the sprint World Cup leader. So you would favour her to get the win. She's wearing 2, tucked in behind Hennig at the moment. And this steady pace, I think, plays into the hands of Tyrrell Woodness-Veng. Slightly surprised that Lotte didn't make it because she beat her in Beiderstolen in a classic sprint.
Yeah, Lotte, I think that's her sitting at the back there, so I'm not sure again if that is... Yeah, she is still in there, so still on for a double Veng podium. We could see that could be the day for that to happen today. Yeah, well, we're still on for a Norwegian 1-2-3, which hasn't happened for a long time in the sprints. That has been the territory of the Swedish team. Things have not gone well for them so far today. Sweden with no one in the semi-finals. It's been a long time since we've seen a women's sprint final without any Swedes in it all. As I said, some of their best sprinters are staying at home because of the choosing to sort of prioritise the overall in the Tour de Ski standing, so some of their more all-round skiers going today. 600 metres to go now in the women's sprint final. Hennig it is with the lead as Tyrrell Woodness-Veng starts to threaten in the middle of the field. Parmakoski getting slightly tied up. Mirvold wearing 10 on the inside with 8. That's Teresa Baranova of the Czech Republic. It'd be fantastic if the Czechs got a win in the World Cup, and it's far from out of possibilities at the moment. Still Germany leading. Now Tyrrell Woodness-Veng as she steps around that corner. There may be 1 or 2 objections to that, and now it's all about double pole power as the Norwegians move to the front and just get a little bit clear. Lotte Woodness-Veng up against Tyrrell Woodness-Veng. Now if Lotte beats Tyrrell and takes away those bonus seconds, there'll be some stiff words in their flat tonight. It's still Lotte Woodness-Veng leading. Is she going to get her first World Cup win just a couple of days after her sister got it? It's not decided yet. Another 5 metres. Veng 1 and 2, and a brilliant race. That has to be a little bit of history with the 2 twins sharing the top 2 places, and the Norwegians getting a 1-2-3 with Mirvold in 3rd, Hennig pushed down a 4, Parmakoski 5, Baranova, who looked for 1 minute if she had a chance of taking the win. But the Norwegians, they made their move on that last little lump. What's going on there? I think that's been really crucial. So doing a great job. Nailing into the finish together. He stuck at the out of trouble. Yeah, just positions himself to perfection. I think that's why he is an amazing all-round skier. He knows what the right tactics are for the right day. So in those 20k races, he's not pushed the pace. He's just sort of let the pack catch up with him. He's wanted to preserve some energy, but he's always been in a position where he could respond to attacks if they came, and he could be the one to lead out the race when it matters right at the end. So, okay, tough question. What's he going to do this time? Will he hang back? Will he go for it? I don't think he'll go from it right from the start. I think like Lotte Veng said there, we want to chill, let the others do the work, and then we take over at the end. I think that works for him. I don't think we'll see him in the lead on the first uphill. I think we'll see him kind of, as they get in the downhill, he'll sort of be in 2nd, 3rd. He might again push over that little bump, so he's got a bit of space coming into the downhill and then over the bump. Yeah, I think certainly on that big right-hand corner at the bottom of the course, I think we're going to see him on the inside again, because he does not want to get compressed into that left-hand turn that leads into the stadium. That is a potential pole-breaking section on the course, so I'm fairly sure he'll stay right. Question is, if he goes tight on the corner, can he carry the speed to break away? We'll see. If anyone can, he can, but he's not the only man in this race. So let's focus on the other 5. Klaebo there obviously wearing 1. Shanova's going to be wearing 4. Kalle Halvarsson, great day so far. 2nd fastest in qualifying, obviously wearing bib number 2. Sear of Canada, fantastic to have a Canadian in the last 6. Mocellini of Italy wearing 7. And we've got Johan Hedström, the 2nd of the Swedes. So 2 Swedes, Frenchman, Norwegian, Canadian, Italian. It's a good mix today. Good final this. Pick your winner. Some big names going out in the last round. Skor took a tumble. Goldberg went early. Iversen knocked out. The normal Norwegian sprinters struggling a little here in Val di Fiemme today, but their number 1 is still here and everyone knows it. Yeah, and Mocellini flying the flag for the Italians with Pellegrino out early as well, so interesting to see if he can repeat that success he had back in Beiderstolen. Yeah, the next generation, the Italians nearly always have a start, but they never have too many at the same time. It's a long time since they had teams, good relay teams that used to
give the Norwegians a run for the money and beat them occasionally. There's Shanava wearing 4, strong, powerful. If he's anywhere near the lead coming into the home straight, he might match Klaebo. 7 wins from 7 in the Tour de Ski and the sprint events. Can he make it 8 out of 8 today and extend his lead in the Tour? Kalle Halvarsen, surely he's not going to finish 4th today. It can't happen. There's Mocciolini. Looks relaxed. And then on the far side, Johan Hegström took the qualification fairly steady. Hence he has bib number 19. His moment for a little bit of glory. So we're underway. Last race of the day here in Val di Fiemme. Little slip from Klaebo, which probably indicates he's gone light on the wax. We'll see whether he have any more slipping up the climb. He's just going to match Shanava, and he's got Halvarsen on his right. So doing as much as he needs to at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. Again, faster pace than the quarterfinal, but certainly not as hard as that semi-final was, where Ogden decided to take it on right from the gun. But reasonably close together. I think we might see Shanava push it. We often see him kind of take the lead if no one else is willing to take it on. And then we've got Mocciolini over on the right, who's still in third, but got clear space in front of him, so I think might try and work his way up a little bit further as they come over this hill.
Yeah, I think Klaebo will probably slot back into 2nd or 3rd going around the corner at the top of the climb. Mocciolini's in prime position to take the lead into the downhill, but he doesn't really want it. Everyone's showing Klaebo a fair amount of respect here. Little burst, but that's just a change track, a double change, so he had to get a couple of meters clear. Changing track isn't an easy skill, but he made that look so quick and easy.
Tracks as well doesn't sound difficult, but actually it was so clean. Again, just an example of just the fantastic skills that he has. Made it look like absolutely nothing. Quick glance across and then went, no, I want to be in that lane, I'm going. Yeah. And now Halvarsen suddenly in front, which I don't think is where he wants to be. You can see him looking around. He wants someone else to take it on at this point.
But it's fine if the pace is slow, and at the moment it is a snail's pace. They've gone through the halfway stage. Just another 650 metres to go. The first 200 metres is downhill and a gradual turn to the right that gets steeper and faster and tighter before they come up into that little shortened downhill. It used to be a tough uphill that led into the stadium. No longer on this course here in Val di Fiemme for the Tour de Ski. 35 kilometres an hour on skis that are just 4 centimetres wide. Down towards that crucial right-hand turn. Klaebo's got the absolute perfect position. They're letting him control this one. Here he goes, 3 or 4 skate steps. Then he puts in a burst of speed, and he's going to be 5, 6, 7 metres clear going down into the downhill. Halvarsen's with him and in a good position to attack if he can catch him.
It is the speed that he gets off the corner is incredible. He opened the lead up, he was just in front, and then by the time they'd gone into the downhill he was 3-4 metres ahead and extended it. Most people are getting caught here, but he's extended it. You can see Halvarsen's
got good speed and he stays low longer, so his arms may be a little fresher. He's closing on Klaebo, but Klaebo didn't want to leave anything to chance today. He has to raise his game coming into the last 15 metres. A change of track from Halvarsen didn't help him, but he had to do it because he was blocked by the best. 2:43.8, fastest run of the day, and Johannes Klaebo makes it 5 wins from 5 in the Tour de Ski. He equals the record set by Ustiakov, and he's now set up to try and beat it tomorrow.